is Jessica Romo for GALvanize. David Aldridge, thank you for being a part of our Who Not Do series. We all know what you do, and you're very good at it. But if I really wanted to get to know who you are, where would I start?
Well, I guess I would say I was formed through two different groups of people. One obviously was my family, my mother and my father, who taught me a lot about the value of work and the importance of it, and how it really provides the kind of foundation for a family to be able to not just sustain, but hopefully do better than the previous generation did. And they sacrificed an awful lot so that me and my brother and sister could go to school. And then once I got to school, once I went to American University, that was another big part of my life. It was a major forming, shaping part of my life in terms of finding my voice, gaining the confidence that I got, that made me believe I could really do this for a living. I had no idea that I could do this for a living when I started at AU, but being there for 4 years and being around some really wonderful people, most of whom are still my closest friends to this day, really was, a defining part of my life.
In an article you wrote back in 2018, I believe it was when you were going back to DC, you said that that when you were younger, you kind of started about like taking on a series of fear-based questions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think those fears help shape you as a person?
I can't speak for other people. I know that my life has, frequently been about overcoming my fears of something. You know, at various and different points of your life, you don't think you're good enough. You don't think you're smart enough. You don't think you're handsome enough. You don't think you're witty enough or talented enough or anything enough, right? We all have those fears. And for, a large part of my adolescence, those fears kind of kept me from doing things that I wanted to do. And gradually, as I got older, I started to realize that you had to try things that you wanted to do, even if you were afraid of the challenge or the potential for failure. You couldn't let, being afraid of failure define your life. You have to try these things, because otherwise you're going to be old and regretting everything you didn't do in life. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done this. I wish I had tried this. And so I decided, sometimes you have to just jump, even if you don't know where you're going to land, because you have to try and you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you are capable of doing whatever it is that the challenge requires you to do. And so that overcoming fear, professionally, personally, socially, all of those things, has been very beneficial to me in terms of my growth as a person, I think.
You said it kind of started changing for you in your adolescent years. Was there like a specific moment or event where it just kind of switched for you? Like, I need to completely stop?
No, I think all these things, there's no one epiphany, there's one pivot moment in your life. It's a series of things. It is literally, should I ask this girl to the prom with me? I really want to go to the prom with her. But if she says no, I'm going to be devastated. But you have to ask her, otherwise she can't say yes, right? So, it's just one step at a time, one good decision at a time, one bad decision at a time. I didn't do that, or I did do that and I failed, but I'm glad I tried it at least. I'm glad I gave it a shot. So those things they started slowly when I was a teenager. They got more frequent as I became a young adult.
Like when all those fears were happening. And now that you've lived through all this, what would you say to that young man about those fears that kept him up, or, those doubts?
I would say, don't take yourself so seriously. I used to take myself way too seriously. And, life is about the experiences you have. So you should have more of them, right? You should allow yourself to have more experiences in life. And if you fail, you fail. It's hard to say that to a young person who hasn't had material success or maybe educational success. I was very blessed that I had some, good fortune in terms of my education. I was a fairly smart person. So I could live on that. I could live behind that, or I could hide behind that almost. And I think that kept me from doing things that I probably should have tried. So I would say, yeah, you're a smart kid, but don't just be the smart kid. Be the smart kid who plays sports, or the smart kid who plays an instrument, or sings out loud in the hallways, or does goofy things, with friends. Nobody's keeping score. Like it's okay if you to loosen up a little bit and not be so rigid and uptight. But again, I think that's human nature. I think we all fight that, especially when we're young and we don't really know who we are yet. You don't want to fail. Failure is very hard on young people, because you literally think it's the end of the world, and it's not. It really isn't. So you can learn from failures. We can learn a lot I learned a lot more about my failures than my successes.
If you don't mind me asking, because you brought up you learned a lot more from failures. Well,
Sure.
which one was probably the one that had the biggest impact on you and who you are as a person?
Oh, that's a good question. Which failure was? um, I There's so many of them. I mean, there really are. There's so many of them. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how you look at it. I was at ESPN for 8 years, and I know most people would say that was great. What a great thing. I kind of think it was a failure. I don't think it didn't work out the way it should have. They didn't renew me, and I spent a lot of time beating myself up over that. What did I do wrong? Why did this happen? And then you realize again, as you get a little removed from the event, that television, they fire everybody in television. Everybody gets fired at one point or another. It's not you necessarily. So I think that helped me a lot. I think that helped me understand that you have talent, you have worth, and you can't let other people define what your worth is to yourself. And I let other people tell me whether I was good or not based on what they thought. And you can't do that. You have to understand your own worth and know that you're a valuable person, and that you should be, treated as such. If you're bringing something to the table that's of value, you should be treated like that. You shouldn't be shunted off to the side and kind of marginalized. You have to speak up for yourself. And I think I learned through that experience, you have to speak up for yourself when you think something is wrong, because otherwise they'll just keep doing what they're doing.
You've been able to tell the stories of so many people. When or how did you learn how to tell your own?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I've always been kind of someone who was fine telling my story, because I really do appreciate the people that made it possible, and I want to give them credit where credit's due. So I'm always going to talk about my parents, and I'm always going to talk about, DeMatha High School. I'm always going to talk about American University and my friends at all of those places. That meant a lot to me. There were people who really believed, I say this all the time, there were people who believed in me way before I ever believed in myself, and that those are the people that gave me the confidence to try different things, and to make that call to that person to get that job, or to do that thing that you really want to do, or you really want to try doing anyway, right? And so I mean, I think I've accomplished a certain amount in this business over 30 years, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what I've been able to do, but I'm also very aware of who helped me, lots of people claim credit once you succeed. I know who helped me, and I know who was there when nobody else was there. So as long as you know that in your journey, make sure that people know about those folks, because it's very surprising when someone helps you, when someone offers to help you, or someone says, I really think you're good at this and you should really try this. And never forget that, and never believe like you got here on your own. Nobody did. Nobody has. And I certainly haven't. So my story is the story of those other people, and so I want those people's lives and their impact on me to be known.
David Aldridge, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us.
Oh, Jessica, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Anytime.